When I saw him, I screamed. Okay, so my life was basically a boring TikTok scroll until last month. I'm Sarah, 24. And I spend my days grinding at a graphic design job that pays the rent for my ridiculously small apartment, and my nights scrolling through utter nonsense. It was all just fine. Until it wasn't. It started on a random Tuesday. I was deep in my DMs swiping away the usual, hey, beautiful trash from accounts with pictures of them holding fish, and then I saw it. A message from an account called observer_01. No face, no posts, just a default gray avatar. Super sketch, right? I was ready to delete it so fast, but the message wasn't the usual garbage. It said, the way you organized the color palette on that branding project today was genuinely brilliant. Your client is lucky. I literally froze. I had just posted that work story like an hour before. It wasn't even a big post. How did this random blank account even see it and notice something that specific? My first instinct was to block, obviously, but it was a legit good compliment. Like, someone actually saw the work and not just my selfie. So I didn't. I just left it on read. Don't come for me, you would have done the same. The messages kept coming, not in a spammy, desperate way. It was like, once a day, he'd notice the specific edition of a book on my shelf in a Zoom background. Or he'd say the song I'd subtly referenced in a caption was one of his favorites too. The attention was low-key addictive. It felt like having a personal hype man who just paid attention. But then it shifted. It got specific, like weirdly specific. I was at this little independent coffee shop I sometimes go to get out of my apartment, one I'd never posted about online. My phone buzzed, observer_01. That's a brave choice. The oat milk cortado. Their espresso is too bold for it, don't you think? Oh. You always strike me as a classic latte person. I had a snap dub. I was holding an oat milk cortado. I literally just got it. I looked around the shop. A few students typing away. An older guy reading a newspaper. No one was looking at me. My heart did this little thumpy thump thing. This wasn't noticing a public post. This was present tense. This was now. I typed back for the first time, my fingers feeling shaky. How would you know what I'm drinking? The 3 dots appeared immediately. Lucky guess. The place you're at usually burns their beans a little. A latte would smooth it out. It was not a lucky guess, it absolutely was not. A cold little shiver went straight down my spine, but it was tangled up with this wild, electric thrill. This person was around, watching. It should have sent me running to deactivate my entire online existence. And a part of me, the sensible part that listens to true crime podcasts, wanted to. But the other part, the bigger part, was screaming with curiosity. Who was he? The quiet guy who works at the plant store next to my building? Someone from the office I'd never noticed? It was equal parts terrifying and flattering. I told my best friend, Maya, and she was fully ready to call the police. Sarah, that's not a secret admirer. That's a opening scene in a documentary about my disappearance, she said, which was not helpful. But I couldn't stop. Every notification from him was like a little jolt. A secret, just for me. He knew things. Little, intimate things about my taste, my habits, things nobody else would ever notice. It felt less like being stalked and more like being known, truly known, in a way that was kinda intoxicating. I just had to know who was behind the screen. It was starting to feel like the most intense game of cat and mouse I'd ever played, except I had no idea which one I was. And I had zero clue what the prize was for winning or what I'd lose if I was actually the one being played. Okay, so the whole observer_01 thing went from a weird little thrill to my entire personality, like, overnight. I became a total detective, a really, really bad one. First, I tried all the basic stuff. I reverse image searched his blank profile pic. Nothing. I looked up the username on every platform I could think of. Zip. Nada. It was like this guy was a ghost. I even tried to trick him, asking stuff like, "Hey, did we meet at that concert last week?" Hoping he'd slip up and be like, "Yeah, the one at the Metro?" But he just wrote back, "I prefer the acoustics of smaller venues. You strike me as the same," which was infuriatingly smooth and also totally unhelpful. I was starting to think I was going insane. Maya was over, watching me refresh my phone for the 100th time. "Babe, this is not it," she said, stealing a chip from my bowl. "You're gonna give yourself an aneurysm. It's some loser with a VPN and too much time. Block him." But I couldn't, because I'd started to notice something. A pattern. It was so small I almost missed it. He always messaged me right after I posted a story, but never when I was at my apartment. It was only when I was out. At a coffee shop, walking in the park, waiting for the train. It was like he needed me to be in public to observe. I know, creepy. But to me, it was a clue. He was nearby. He had to be. That's when the obsession really kicked in. I started planning my outings like they were missions. I'd post a story from a specific bench at the park, and then just sit there, my eyes scanning every single person who walked by, looking for someone on their phone, looking for someone looking at me. My screen time shot up like 200%. I was so busy trying to catch him watching that I stopped actually living my life. Maya staged a full-blown intervention over margaritas. "Sarah, listen to yourself," she said, her voice dead serious. "You're talking about patterns and operational zones. You sound like a cop in a bad movie. This isn't a game anymore. This is some single white female stuff." I brushed her off. "You're being dramatic. I'm just curious." Then I got the lead I thought I wanted. I was at this stupid team happy hour for work, and this guy from accounting, Mark, was there. He's always been kind of quiet, a little awkward. He mentioned he'd seen my post about the new taco place downtown. My head whipped around. "How did you see that?" I asked, maybe a little too intensely. He just shrugged. "It was on my feed?" For a glorious, heart-thumping minute, I was sure it was him. It all fit. He was quiet, he was at my work, he had access to me. I felt this massive wave of relief. Mark. Weird, harmless Mark. I could handle Mark. I practically ran home, ready to type "I know it's you" to observer_01. But when I opened my phone, there was a new message. Sent 5 minutes ago. Observer_01. "The sour mix at that bar is from a powder. I knew you'd make a face when you tasted it. You deserve fresh lime." The blood drained from my face. He was there, at the bar. He saw me taste my disgusting margarita and make a face. Mark had left an hour before that. It wasn't him. The relief vanished, replaced by a cold, heavy dread that sat in my stomach. The next message came through as I was sitting there, frozen. Observer_01. "You look tired. Sarah, you should get more sleep. I can hear you watching videos through your bedroom wall pretty late. Sweet dreams." I dropped my phone. It clattered on the floor. My whole body went cold. He wasn't just nearby when I was out, he was my neighbor. The message about hearing me through the wall changed everything. The thrill was gone, completely evaporated, replaced by a pure, icy fear that lived in the back of my throat. He wasn't some mysterious stranger across the city. He was right next door. I spent the entire night shoved against my bedroom wall, trying to hear any little sound from the other side. It was dead quiet, which was somehow worse. I had to end this, now. I couldn't live like this, jumping at every creak in my building. Maya wanted me to call the cops, but what would I say? He sent me a compliment about my taste in coffee and said I looked tired. They'd laugh me out of the precinct. I had a plan. It was stupid and risky, and Maya absolutely hated it. But it was the only thing I could think of. I posted an Instagram story. It was a video of me, looking exhausted and genuinely scared, which wasn't hard. "I can't do this anymore," I said, my voice shaky. "The constant messages. I'm not sleeping. I'm leaving from my mom's house tonight. I just need to get out of this city for a while." I made a big show of packing a suitcase. I even called an Uber and had it wait outside, then sent it away after a minute. I needed it to look real. Then I turned off all my lights and waited. I crouched down by my front door, peeking through the tiny peephole out into the dim hallway. My heart was hammering against my ribs so hard, I thought it would break one. This was it. Either he'd take the bait, or I was actually going to have a nervous breakdown. The minutes dragged on. Nothing. I felt like such an idiot. Of course, it didn't work. I was about to get up when I heard it. The softest click of a door unlatching, apartment 4B, directly across the hall. The door opened just a crack, and a figure slipped out into the hallway. He stood there for a second, just looking at my door. It was him. I knew it. My breath caught. He took a step forward, then another, moving silently toward my apartment. This was it. This was the moment. I yanked my own door open so fast it slammed against the wall, and I froze, standing there, hand still outstretched like he was about to knock. Was Leo. Sweet, quiet Leo from 4B, the guy who always held the elevator for me. The guy who offered to help me carry my groceries that one time. The guy with the kind eyes and a shy smile who I'd actually, secretly, had a tiny crush on for months. The air left my lungs. It wasn't some creepy old man or a random stalker. It was Leo. He looked just as shocked as I was, his face pale in the hallway light. He didn't look dangerous. He looked devastated and guilty. "So incredibly guilty, Sarah," he whispered, his voice rough. I'm so sorry. I never meant to scare you." All the fear, the anger, the weeks of obsession just curdled inside me into something else, something more confusing. "Leo?" was all I could manage to say. "Why?" He just shook his head, his shoulders slumping. I noticed you. Everything about you. I thought if I could show you how well I saw you, you'd see me too." And the craziest part? I had for months. And I told him that. I was like, "Leo, I had a whole thing for you. You could have just talked to me." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and the guilt in his eyes mixed with this insane, desperate hope. Really? And I don't know what came over me. Maybe the adrenaline crash, maybe the months of secret tension, but I just nodded. And then he was kissing me, or I was kissing him, and it was this frantic, messy, electric thing against my doorway before I pulled him inside and slammed the door. We didn't talk, not for a long time. That night was a lot. It was all the pent-up, everything from the last few months exploding. It was steamy and intense and kind of raw, and for a few hours, the whole messed up situation just melted away. We moved in together now. It's complicated. Obviously, we're working through it. My stuff is basically all at his place. He deleted the app, obviously, and he knows if he ever pulls any weird cryptic shit again, I'm actually gone. But he also knows my coffee order by heart now for real, and he tells me to my face when I look tired, and it's just normal. We're trying to be normal. And for Maya, it took a lot of convincing, but she's cool with it, seeing he's harmless. I guess the point is, the internet makes monsters out of strangers and angels out of pixels. But sometimes, they're just the guy across the hall who's really bad at flirting. When that notification pops up from a blank screen, you never really know. But sometimes, against all odds, it works out.